Welcome back to the Quiet on Set podcast powered by Cineman. I'm Ewan Gruff, and as always, I'm joined by Lachlan Seeley. What's up, my man?
I'm going good, man. I still have COVID. We're recording this after the other recording.
Yeah,
I have COVID.
still has not recovered, but we're here to talk about the first season of Andor. We got our full-on spoiler review for season 1, which mainly, should ask the question: is this the best Star Wars show to date? Lachlan, what would you
Ooh,
say?
best Star Wars show to date?
Yeah.
TV show?
Yes.
Fuck yeah. I'll say yes.
So it's certainly
100%.
worth watching. That already answers my second question. Maybe that should have been the first one. Is Andor worth seeing? Yes, of course, from the both of us.
Yeah.
And is it the best show they've done so far? I'd also say yes. So exciting times when it comes to the Star Wars TV front, when the movies have kind of been a letdown. Now, it comes in at quite a long runtime if you add all 12 episodes together. Do you think the 12 episodes were a good decision, or would you have gone shorter, longer, or is it just kind of the perfect length?
I think that they knew the story they wanted to tell, and they didn't really restrict themselves to a certain amount of episodes, especially in
Yeah.
an era where seasons seem to be getting shorter in terms of episode length. There doesn't seem to be many episodes in a season anymore.
Yeah.
This one kind of jumps out there and goes, well, we have a couple of little stories we want to tell, a couple of arcs we want to tell. And it's good that they decided they wanted to say, look, we're not going to restrict ourselves to 8 episodes or 10 episodes or 15 episodes. It's like we
Mhm.
make what we make, and I think that's what they did. I think they just decided to make what they make, see how it came together, and they came to 12.
Yeah, so Star Wars expands once again. I think in that kind of arc fashion where we get like smaller arcs with certain characters and then we move past them. I think some arcs worked better, some bridges between the acts to especially the finale, I think didn't work as well as maybe some of the earlier ones. Did you have a favorite out of those usually like 3 episode long arcs that we got in Andor?
I don't know if I have a favorite specific little arc, little story that they tell, because I really just enjoyed the entire story as it is. But I
Mhm.
have to admit, I guess the prison little arc
Mhm.
was probably my favorite. It was probably the most engaging storyline that they had, where they definitely said, this is the good, this is the bad, where everything else seemed to be kind of setting up Andor's kind of life and his like experience. So for
Yeah.
me, I that would probably be my favorite, but I would say that overall, I don't have one that's like slightly better than the other, and I feel
Yeah,
like
yeah.
they're all good. All
Mhm.
the storylines are quite good. You know what? I will say the prison one's a little bit better. Fuck it. The prison one is a little bit better than the rest of the storylines, but I
Yeah.
have to admit that out of all the episodes, it's like the prison escape one. There's like a heart wrenching moment, and this series seems to do its moments well. There's not a lot of action, but when there is,
Yeah.
it's good.
Mhm.
And it always seems to be building up. Obviously, it's quite like an espionage style show. So
Mhm.
there's not a lot, there's not meant to be a lot of action. It's meant to be kind of like stealth stuff. But
Yeah.
the final episode, there's like a big, impactful fight. And it feels so impactful because it's been building up to this.
Yeah.
So this show just nails its tone, its stories. I don't think there's like a really really bad episode. Like there's
Mhm.
obviously one that's lower than the rest, but I feel like every episode is just like positive amongst fans, amongst critics.
Yeah.
It's a good series.
Yeah, I think I wasn't as big a fan of the prison plot as maybe some others were. I feel like the show has been not on a steady, but a very slight decline since the first 3 episodes. I also enjoyed the second bit with those rebels, but I guess I was a bit disappointed that we usually leave everyone behind us because they all die. But that's maybe the grim reality of you either die fighting or you keep going because you live on.
Yep.
It's kind of the reality that we live on. So I kind of have to, you know, see that. But I think the Annie Circus thing of like, oh, I can't swim. It's like, oh, I guess he's not in the story anymore. I think that to me was a bit goofy.
Oh
So,
man, I
but yeah,
thought it was so. I was just like, oh
yeah.
man, when men cry, it was like
Mm.
just as heart wrenching as when Iron Man snapped his arm. Um,
Yeah.
No, it was. Yeah, look, I have to admit, there are some things where I'm just like, It's a bit much, like when that dude gets crushed in that escape in the eye.
Mhm.
Like, okay, sure, he died very stupidly, but hey, you know what? In a world where we can fly in space, why don't we have automatic magnets to things that are flying around the ship? Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna make stupid little plot hole points to make plot go further.
No, I
Uh,
mean, I think it's usually way more than we can expect typically from Star Wars that
yeah,
goes into, I guess, making these characters not just caricatures of just, I guess, stereotypes, which makes it a bit more interesting. But I think we also, when we last talked about Andor, agreed that some of the Mon Mothma storyline really drags and is similar to the, I guess, worst aspect of the no, I guess it's not as bad at like some of the politics stuff in the prequels, I'd say, because she has that underlying thing of she's also building towards something, but in comparison to Andor, she never gets anywhere, at least in this first season. And I think that's
yeah,
very intentionally done. That she is really just building to a breaking point where she snaps and becomes that rebel leader that we later see. So knowing that they are not just, you said they really know what they want to do in season one. I think they probably also have a fairly good idea of what they want to do in season two. And I feel like
yeah,
that also comes through. That's sometimes how I felt with the prison stuff, that they are like, oh yeah, that's a thing that needs to happen. That's kind of how it felt in the story to me, not as like gripping and interesting, but maybe because the world building in the show was quite fun to watch. And some of like the outskirts character that you don't really, typically focus on, to give them a bit more, put them in the limelight, like a Luthen, or maybe even like someone on the side of the bad guys like Dedra, were some nice additions to like an expanding cast. Did you have like an MVP that you were rooting to see like more of on screen?
I was hoping Cyril would get his dick wet. No. Um, my,
Hey,
uh,
honestly, I was rooting for the same thing. For some reason, that like the romantic subplot, not between Bix and Andor, I was rooting for Cyril and
no, no, no,
Dedra.
no. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, Cassian is a really fun character, and low key was one of the best aspects of Rogue One. And it's really exciting to have a character in Star Wars that you really want to root for that's not either a Jedi, or B,
Skywalker.
a Sith. And it's exciting to not have any lightsabers or Force stuff. It's
Mhm,
so interesting to see that there is a part of this galaxy that's almost exactly like ours, except very far in the future,
mhm.
where there's
Galaxy far,
beliefs,
far
there's
away.
religions, and the
Yeah.
religions don't have, don't make you like levitate things with your mind. So
Mhm.
for me, my MVP is Cassian, but
Right.
in saying that, Luthen was wicked. Stellan Skarsgård does a wicked job playing this character,
Yeah.
and in my opinion, there is the monologue in episode. Oh no, I didn't write it down.
The one
There's a
in 11, I
monologue.
think. The second to last
Yeah,
episode, I think, is when he does
yeah.
that elevator pitch.
He
He
has
does
a
a
wicked
literal elevator
monologue.
pitch.
Elevator pitch.
Yeah.
One of the best monologues possibly in Star Wars history,
Yeah. Yeah,
other
I mean,
than
definitely, yeah. There's not a lot of
possibly
monologues
even
here.
wasn't a big, like, it was a monologue that was personal. I feel like the
Yeah.
monologue by Andor's mother in the final
Mhm.
episode is also very good, and
Yeah.
that acts as a very good jump start to the rebellion essentially. And I think that was really awesome. That entire funeral scene is a massive highlight for the entire season for me, because I was just blown away. But there's so many
Right.
aspects of this show that were done really well when it just comes to dialogue and writing. Like having
Mhm.
Forrest Whitaker's character, whose name is not coming to me right now. Man, I'm the Star Wars guy and all the characters' names are running from my
That's
head.
why I'm not stressing about this at all.
Run
I'm
for
not
the
the Star Wars
rebellion.
guy.
Shaw Guerrera, that's it. Saw
Saw
Guerrera.
Gerrera. Yeah, I
Having
was
his
so
character
close.
pop up was wicked.
Yeah.
So just to have so many aspects of this show be really well written, and you
Mhm.
just go, "Fuck, that scene was wicked," because it's just a bit of dialogue between two characters. To then having some really exciting some
Yeah.
really exciting fight scenes, and some espionage stuff. To then having some of the best cinematography you could ever have in a Star Wars medium ever. Like, it was just some of these shots, like the one where they're escaping with the gold
Mhm.
on that heist, like, that was stunning. To then have the like, an end credit scene in the last episode be a very, very beautiful visual of the Death Star being built, like, there
Yeah.
was so many wicked visuals to this film and so many great conversations, not in this film, in this show, and there's so many good conversations, like, it was just
Mhm.
a wicked mixture of Star Wars that wasn't just, mysterious forces and midichlorians and all of this voodoo magic. It was just a grounded story set in a sci-fi universe that didn't have any of the traditional Star Wars stuff, and that was exciting. That's
Mhm.
probably the most exciting part. Now,
Yeah.
yes, I wouldn't mind like a Star Wars thing popping up here and there, like to have part of the rebellion eventually communicate with Jedi would be cool. Um, because there are Jedi out there. They're not all dead. I mean, Ahsoka's coming up, but to have this be
Yeah.
separated and not really need any of that is probably the most exciting part because it could add so much depth to this rebellion. But again,
Mhm.
it can all be thrown away by The Last Jedi and how the rebellion isn't anywhere near as good as what the Empire is because they're both being
Yeah.
bought out like
Well,
planes and stuff from the same people, and there's
mhm.
only the people who are winning are the ones who make the weapons. So I'm just
I
throwing
mean,
some Ryan Johnson shit in there because it's so much fun to bring up The Last Jedi.
yeah. I think what is like two things. First of all, I feel like compared to a lot of other shows from Star Wars and even expanding it to Disney as a whole, feel reactionary, but also focusing on being interactive. As in like I noticed this character and we are trying to figure out what the name of baby Groot is. Oh, it's Grogu. That's what we are going for. But here,
Yeah.
that's not happening. We just solely focus on the characters and their story. And I don't feel like it's really working on like it's harder to sell, if that makes sense. And I feel like that's
Yeah.
refreshing from a company who rarely does anything that's not just a rehashed, redone version of something they've done before.
You know what? I don't think it's harder to sell because I think there's so much I guess there's so many people in the Star Wars world who want something different.
Yeah.
They want to explore a different part of the world. The traditional on-screen Jedi stuff that we've seen in the movies is practically been all the same. The recent
Mhm.
sequel trilogy has added some extra new abilities and stuff which are kind of interesting, but
Mhm.
people really want that, end of the like early Republic era and like they
Mhm.
want this expanded universe Star Wars to come up and to
Yeah.
have shows coming out like Andor, which is a spy espionage where there's no Jedi, there's no lightsabers, it's all about the rebellion in its early days. Then you are gonna have like the other Star Wars show that's coming out, the Acolyte.
Mhm.
Acolyte,
Yeah, the
I
acolyte.
think it's coming out. Which is as completely it's set like years and years before where there was different Sith and Jedi to then having
Mhm.
a TV show come out about Ahsoka that's live action, not just an animated show, to then, having, Bad Batch, Clone Wars, all these shows come out which are expanding the universe in different type of ways. To then even now having Taika Waititi doing his own Star Wars movie that's set with no pre-existing Skywalker characters. It's like, cool. People know what Star Wars is, and you can play with these themes and ideas. That's what Star Wars is. Like you can have just good, bad, but then you can have Andor, and you can have like morally gray characters, but you can still have that good and versus bad side.
Mhm.
So it's exciting to see that Disney is willing to play with Star Wars now, like they are willing to play with Marvel. They did their safety net. Their safety net did not stick, so they realized we should start doing other Star Wars stuff.
I mean, they are still kind of reluctant, I guess, at least on the movie side, to commit to any one person. I think once we get like actually the a final product for one of the dozens of directors they hire for some time to do the next trilogy, we can speak more on that. But I think on the series side, Mandalorian and Andor They're two big what is it called? Like dark, not dark horses, but it's just like they're safe bets of what they can just continue on. And yeah, it's interesting that it spawns out of a prequel spin-off movie, like Rogue One. It's interesting that yeah, in the niches we can find some stories that are interesting to tell as well.
Is Andor the Winter Soldier of the MCU?
Huh.
It's not like the rest of the cinematic universe that's all like Marvel-y. It's something a bit different. It's the same, but it's
Yeah.
different, and it can kind of be that kickstart that they need because, as we all know, the Russo brothers ended up then manhandling the rest of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and
Yeah.
all the Avengers movie. Is Tony what's his
Gilroy.
name? Tony Gilroy
Yeah.
going to be the future of Star Wars television?
I
I
mean,
don't
I'd
know.
hope
I
so.
don't know what
Yeah.
the Bob Iger's back, so who knows what's going to happen with Star Wars
Yeah.
in Disney Plus's world. I thought Tony Gilroy didn't like Star Wars. I thought I read that somewhere.
I think, yeah, he might have said that when he did Rogue One, so he wanted to make Star Wars different. Maybe it's like a quote like that.
Yeah, that's
Probably
what
like
we should
something like
get.
that.
That's what we need to do. We need to get people who dislike something to make something in that universe
Like The
that's
Witcher.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like The Witcher. Get all the writers, the shit on the source material, and you
Yeah.
make a great show. The show's
Anyways, I mean, the
wow.
show has already been renewed for a second season, another 12 episodes that we are getting. What did you make of the ending and possibilities for season 2 to continue?
Well, as I said, it was exciting because it felt like the whole series was building up to this kickstart to the rebellion because that's
Yeah.
what this show is about. It's the start of the rebellion. They were talking about it, there were whispers about it, and eventually it became this, this wicked story about how it started. And it all started with Cassian's adopted slash stolen mother. I guess she stole. Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
His mother, essentially.
His mother, yeah.
So it's exciting to have this show be on here presenting this story of the rebellion because it's adding so much depth, as I said. So, what do I want out of season 2? I want more Mon Mothra
Yeah.
becoming less of the Senate and more of the person we know her to become.
Mhm.
I'd like to see her, I guess, lead the rebellion. They need a leader. That's the thing. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what comes of her storyline because it's the one that hasn't had any interesting. And it's interesting to have such a, I guess, important storyline go nowhere
Mhm.
and it doesn't ruin the show, which is,
Yeah.
it's good to have that once in a while where there's a storyline that isn't destroying the show enough that it's bad, but it's still, it's still,
Yeah.
it's still
Yeah.
an enjoyable show to
Y
watch,
you
even
know
if this one
what?
storyline doesn't go anywhere.
You know what? For me, it was that end fight at the funeral. To me, the whole end bit of Andor was a bit rushed. I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't have minded. I wouldn't have cared if they just held that off until season 2. And that was something like we don't really get like a big moment in this season. I get why we needed that and was building towards that, but I felt like that was slightly rushed. The way that it kind of tie ended the prison thing and everyone was then back on Ferex. But the moments certainly were great. I think the payoff was great. But I would like I yeah, it would have been also fine to do that at a later point in the show to actually have like a standoff between the rebellion and the not the first order, but whatever order is in place at that time. Again, I'm not the Star Wars
The
guy.
Empire.
The Empire,
No,
exactly.
I see. I think the final battle, I think the final fight is needed because
Right.
you're building this anticipation to nothing. You can't have anticipation lead for another
Yeah.
year and a half till they release season 2. So I feel like
Yeah, that's
this
fair.
battle isn't because it isn't
That's why I
significant
get it. I
enough
think for the
to
story, we don't really
yeah,
need it at that
it
point,
isn't
but for
significant
this
enough
show,
to like
get
kickstart a
it.
rebellion
Yeah.
because it's just this one planet Ferrix.
Mhm.
But I have to admit that even if it's not the start of a rebellion, to have some very dirty tactics like a bomb and all of that to then be, kickstart this big fight and then it kind of be over. Like it was a very short lived riot, and it was very
Yeah.
quickly stampled down by the Empire. So it's not big enough to start a rebellion, but you know that it's building in the streets underneath all this layer of
Yeah.
control. There is a fight wanting to happen, and you got a little bit of taste of that, and that's what's sitting in people's mouths right now. The fact that Andor is so different. There's a fight waiting to happen. They know what the fight leads to. They want to see some dirty fucking tactics come from this rebellion.
Mm.
I want to see some bombs strapped to did I say that? Strong bombs strapped to kids.
Jesus Christ. What are we
It's okay
doing?
if they're alien kids, right?
Yeah, are we
Alien
doing Hunger
kids.
Games, the last
Alien
one,
children.
all over again.
Throw them,
Alien
yeah.
children. I
Baby
think
Jabba
that
the Hutts.
doesn't
Just get
make
baby
it-
Jabba the Hutts, strap a bomb to them, throw them in.
That's fair. They're probably really sticky.
Baby
as
Jar Jar
well.
Binks.
They could be like sticky bombs, that you throw at places. That's like- I had a thought. I totally lost it after that comment. But yeah, I'm keen for season 2 at some point. Probably in 2024 is when we'll be getting that, I assume. So until then, let us know what you thought of Andor, and if you watched it all, if you'll continue watching. And Lachlan, what did you give the season as a whole?
I'm giving it a 4.5 out of 5.
4.5 out of 5. That's incredibly
The best
high
Star Wars
praise.
show ever.
Yeah.
Yep.
For me, it's gonna be a 7 out of 10, 3.5 out of 5, but a still really solid show that I enjoyed to keep up with week by week. So looking forward to season 2 and Mandalorian season 3 in a couple of months, I believe. But that's it for our spoiler review today. You can again leave your thoughts in the comments below. Like and subscribe to the channel. You can find links to everything Quiet on Set link below as well as Lachlan and my personal socials. So thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you soon.